What is up, guys? Whitey Bite Me here, and welcome to my little discussion video about Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City. So I'm going to answer a few questions that I wrote out for myself to make this a little bit easier for me, because I've been trying to do this for a while and every video has been coming out to like 30 minutes to 45 minutes long, and I just really want to shorten this and just get this out there. So first question to myself is, how did you feel about the characters? The characters in this film I thought were done pretty well, excluding Leon. Basically just Leon. Basically just Leon. Lisa Trevor, she's Lisa Trevor. I feel like Lisa Trevor did not belong, but we're going to get into that after we get to Leon. After we get through with Leon. So Leon, they turned him into a joke character. He wakes up at the beginning, he's hungover, he goes to a bar, he's getting ready to go to work, he runs into some employees. The employees make fun of him. They ask him, what does the S stand for? Stupid. And I thought it was funny at first, but then it just kept going on and on and on. And not only was Leon bullied throughout the film, he was also very stupid, very incompetent. The dude didn't know how to use a shotgun. Dude didn't know how to go through the armory. Claire had to help him with that. And dude couldn't tell the difference between a gun and a freaking fire extinguisher. He does not know how to run. He does not do anything. I feel like if they took Leon out of that film, it wouldn't have mattered if he was there or not. Like, Leon was literally being babysitted by Claire throughout the entire film. He really served no purpose other than just being the comedic relief. And I did not like this rendition of Leon whatsoever. He was terrible. He's probably my least favorite character in this entire film. And then now we have Lisa Trevor. So Lisa Trevor, I'm pretty sure her whole purpose was to motivate Claire into doing what she did. So the beginning of the movie, we have Claire and Chris. They're in an orphanage. Their parents died. They're in an orphanage, and an orphanage is ran by William Birkin. So you already know some shady shit is happening. Now, not only are large groups of kids disappearing or being quote unquote adopted every other day, like who adopts like 6 to 7 kids a day or every other day? It makes no sense. So Claire's kind of suspicious. So Claire also sees Lisa Trevor, and that makes her even more suspicious because Lisa Trevor's like, she's disfigured and fucked up. So I'm pretty sure they were using Lisa Trevor to get Claire to leave the city and then come back, and then the movie starts. But I feel like if they took out Lisa Trevor and they just did the whole kids disappearing, or just have kids quote unquote be adopted and then maybe some kids come back and they're sick, that would have been better to motivate Claire, to let Claire know, hey, something's wrong, and then she leaves. Like, the whole using Lisa Trevor, it probably would have been better if Lisa Trevor is more fleshed out, if the whole situation of Lisa Trevor is more fleshed out, because like, it makes sense, but the movie's pacing is just so bad. But we'll get to that later. But Lisa Trevor, the way this movie is, you could have took her out and it doesn't fucking matter. So next we got Wesker and Jill. I'm gonna put them together. Wesker and Jill, I like both their characters. Like, Jill's character, they basically took Jill from Resident Evil Remake and they mixed it with the Resident Evil 5. And they kind of like cranked it up a little bit and put a little bit of Claire's personality in there from Code Veronica. So we have this warm personality that's also a little bit flirtatious and has very suggestive fucked up jokes. That's this Jill. Like, she's a mixture of Resident Evil 5's Jill, Resident Evil Remake Jill, with Code Veronica Claire. And I say those games because Jill in Resident Evil Remake and Jill in Resident Evil 5, she makes very suggestive jokes, but they just cranked it up, so those suggestive jokes went to fucked up jokes. So I didn't mind this Jill too much because she was pretty close, not exactly, but she was pretty close to the recent incarnations of Jill, because Jill before the remake in Resident Evil 5 was a little bit more static and we didn't really know much about her other than she just wants to get out of freaking Raccoon City, or she just wants to get out the mansion. So because the Resident Evil characters way back in the 90s were more static. So this Jill I didn't mind too much. I liked her. Just the only thing with her is that her acting was just weird near the end of the movie. It's like they did a lot of improv and it just didn't come out natural when she was interacting with certain characters. So it was very weird. And Wesker, the same thing. Now this Wesker, I like this Wesker because I like the idea of them disconnecting Wesker from Umbrella and then having him become part of Umbrella through other means. So, or not Umbrella, but some other organization. So I like the way they did this Wesker. They made him human, like your average everyday dude, but he's a little bit of like a bro dude, he's like a cool dude that everybody likes, and he tries to be funny, and he's kind of like I guess like a dork or whatever. But this Wesker, I didn't mind this Wesker either, other than just, again, like he suffered the same problems as Jill, where his acting was just, when he interacted with certain people, just weird from time to time and unnatural. But Wesker and Jill didn't mind their characters too much. Now going on to Claire's character, they basically took Resident Evil 3 Jill and they put it onto this Claire. This Claire reminds me a lot of Resident Evil 3 Jill. So this Claire, she's okay. She's I don't have any really bad things to say about this Claire other than whatever. She's literally just Jill from Resident Evil 3. Now we have Brian Arns. Brian Arns is probably one of my favorites. He was actually funny. His acting was pretty good, which is funny because the best actor in Resident Evil 2 OG was Brian Arns, and I feel like the best one here was Brian Arns when it comes to Welcome to Raccoon City. I actually genuinely enjoyed Brian Arns a lot. So I'm not going to talk too much about him because I don't want to accidentally get into spoiler territory, because like I feel like talking about him for a while. Like I really like this character a lot. But Brian Arns, really good. I liked him. Chris is basically Chris. He's like a mix of like Resident Evil remake Chris and Resident Evil Code Veronica Chris. Like he's Chris. He's Chris, because Resident Evil remake Chris is more like reserved and a little bit more like he doesn't really express himself too much. But then we got Code Veronica Chris, which is a more like I don't know, more assertive. But I like this Chris a lot. He's Chris. He looks like Chris. He did a pretty good job. Chris, good. I like Chris. Dooley, Kevin Dooley, and Enrico, they're also in here. They're like whatever. They don't really do anything, which is weird. Like, why does Bravo team only have 2 members? I mean, Dooley is not really stars, but Bravo team in this movie is just composed of Dooley and Enrico. That's basically, there's no Rebecca or anything. That was freaking weird. But yeah, most of the characters in this film I liked. I think I forgot some, like the everyday character, like the bartender, or like, no, not the bartender, the waitress, the itchy tasty lady. Those characters are fine. The cringe, there's one character that's cringe, which is like the little kid at the beginning. That character is pretty cringe. I don't like, we're getting into that reference stuff later. The references in this movie were just, some of them are just really, really stupid. But yeah, going out of characters, I thought they were all pretty okay, aside from Leon. Leon was stupid. I hate Leon's character. Lisa Trevor, somewhat pointless. Brian Arns, amazing. Everybody else is pretty alright. Next one is, did I like the plot? The plot of this movie, I feel, is pretty dumb, but I had to fill in the blanks for myself to make it not so dumb. So basically, Umbrella pulled out of the city. I can't really remember why. I think it's something like they weren't really reaping any benefits, or didn't really see any financial, like they didn't see it as profitable to be in that city anymore. So they just pulled out, and it became a ghost town. The only people that stayed were people that couldn't afford to leave, basically. And an incident happened to where the water supply of the city has been poisoned with some kind of virus. So the weird thing is that law enforcement seems to be immune to whatever's in the water. And it's stupid to me. Like, why not just kill everybody? Why give certain people immunity? So what I'm thinking is that before Umbrella decided to leave, maybe they were committed to staying for a little bit, and they would have needed the law enforcement just in case something happened with the virus, and they would have somebody to protect the company. So they decided to keep law enforcement healthy and, you know, good for the go, by giving them booster shots and vitamins or whatever that they needed to stave off the whatever's in the water. Because the only people that changed were citizens. So it makes sense when I explain it to myself like that, when I tell myself that. But the movie doesn't really tell you anything like that. You're just told that water supply is poisoned, and the only people that have immunity are basically the stars of the show. And it's just really stupid. So the plot, I think, is really stupid unless I tell myself that little story on why it's like that. But yeah, the beginning of this film is actually pretty interesting. It's more like a psychological zombie horror flick at the beginning, like the first like 20-30 minutes, and then after that it just kind of just, what the fuck just happened? But the plot is fucking stupid. And yeah. Now the CGI wasn't that bad. I feel like the CGI was not as bad as the trailer. When I look at the trailers again, I'm like, dang, that CGI is bad. But actually watching it on the big screen, it actually wasn't that bad. Especially Birkin. Birkin was the thing that I was worried about the most, because that's a lot of CGI. That's a big monster, dude. That's gonna look bad, I thought. But when you actually see it, especially like his half mutation, it actually wasn't that bad. It looked pretty good. But I still, like, it's a shame that the Anderson film came out like what, 2002, 2003, and the CGI in that one, or at least like the dogs and stuff in that, like CGI and the dogs looked really good compared to this film that started development in what, like 2017. It's really sad to think about it, but it actually wasn't that bad, even though it could have been worlds better considering the Anderson film came out nearly 20 years ago, the first one, and it has better CGI and better dog enemies. But again, it wasn't terrible. The CGI, it seemed like they cleaned it up a little bit, so it wasn't that bad. Birkin's half mutation, like his form 1, was absolutely amazing. I loved it. The only part that was kind of like yikes is when he grabbed a cage, he grabbed like a fence and just ripped it off. It looked like he was wearing like a rubber glove when he did it, because it looked really unnatural the way his hand like closed. It was really weird. But yeah, the CGI is not too bad. Could have been better. Now the zombies. My favorite thing about this movie, besides Brian Irons, is the zombies. The zombies, I like it. There's like, these zombies have like 2 different stages. I would say like 2 different stages. They have like 2 different, okay. So we have like the zombie human hybrid, and then we have the full-on zombie. So the zombie human hybrid is a mix between State of Emergency zombies and 28 Days Later zombies. So they have like symptoms of rabies, like 28 Days Later zombies, but they also can talk and communicate and try to bait you like State of Emergency zombies. And I like these zombies a lot because it gives like it gives like a psychological horror feel, because they try to bait you through speech, but at the same time they're zombies, so if you do give into it, you're fucked. So I like these kind of zombies, because just thinking about that in real life, there's a zombie apocalypse in real life, right? And you see somebody's banging on your door. You look through the peephole and they're saying like, help me, please let me in, I need some food. And you see their eyes are like bleeding and shit, but then you're not sure if you should help them or not. It's really weird. It's a really weird thing to have, weird in a good way, to have a zombie that talks. Or like a person that's being controlled by a virus being compelled to talk just so the virus can have a chance to pass itself on. It's really creepy. So yeah, I like the zombies in this film a lot because they mix like two of my favorite zombies together. I liked it a lot. Now the pacing in this film is really bad. And I feel like if the pacing was better, this movie would have been way better. If this movie was like 2 hours long, it would have been way better at what this guy was trying to do. But trying to mix two different Resident Evil plots into one does not work. It did not work. And it's so disappointing because I genuinely enjoyed the first 20 to 30 minutes of this film. And then when the characters separated and they did the Raccoon City incident on top of the mansion incident, it got really bad. It was really hard to follow because everything was just jumping so freaking much. It went from mansion, something happened in mansion, then suddenly city. I get invested in what's going on in the city, and then it changes back to mansion, and then my immersion's broken and it just keeps flipping. I'm like, oh my god, please, why? I'm just watching the rest of this movie, just shaking my head and chuckling, because I'm like, bro, this could have been so much better if they focused on just one game. Just one game. I don't understand why they wanted to do 2 games in one. Just why? If you really wanted to do 2 games in one, why didn't you just make the movie an extra hour longer? Why? Because this movie is just too short to cover 2 games at once. Or at least make like a Netflix series. Like Black Summer does the same thing. Black Summer on Netflix jumps from character to character to character to character, but because it's on Netflix, it's a TV show, and it's a Netflix show, and each episode is like an hour long. It works because they have so much time to flesh out each individual character and situation that when it keeps flipping from character to character and character after a certain point, I'm not lost. I'm still immersed. And if there's a certain group that I like and don't like it doesn't mess anything up. But this is just too short to do something like that. It's way too short. So yeah, the pacing and them trying to do 2 games at once, it's really bad, and it's really disappointing because, again, like, this could have been so much better if they just stuck with just one game. Just one game. Now, would I recommend this game to any, or recommend this movie to any casual moviegoer? Probably not, because I feel like you would need to know about Resident Evil 1 and 2 to fill in the blanks, because like I said earlier, this movie jumps a lot. After like 20 to 30 minutes, this movie starts jumping everywhere. And if you can't fill in those blanks, if you don't know about these characters and their background, you're going to be confused. Because it actually helps to know about the games a little bit when you're watching this movie, because everything jumps around. If you don't know, like, again, if you don't know about Ari's lore or the lore with the first 2 games, you're gonna be confused. So I would not recommend this to any casual moviegoer. I wouldn't even recommend this to anybody who just likes zombie films, because there's not really any zombie action in this movie. You're only getting like 3 scenes of zombie action in this entire movie, and the other parts of this movie is just really just running around and talking and then like car accidents and stuff like that. There's really not too much zombie action. There's one scene in this movie that I actually like a lot, which is Chris fighting zombies in the mansion in the dark. That is my favorite scene in this entire movie. And that's the most zombie action you're gonna get in this entire movie, and that scene is only like 2 minutes. So no, I would not recommend this to anybody who just likes zombie movies or just like a casual movie person. Just no, I would not recommend it. Now, would I recommend this to any Resident Evil fan? Now, it depends. It really depends. Like, if you're somebody who wants a verbatim copy paste of the games, you're not gonna like this film. But if you're somebody like me who really doesn't care, you are very open to different renditions of stuff, then yeah, go ahead and watch it. But again, the plot, the pacing is just really bad. So you're probably gonna enjoy, if you're somebody like me who's just really open to it, you're probably going to enjoy the first 30 minutes. But then after that, you're gonna just be like, damn, It's just going to be jumping everywhere, but you're probably going to find scenes that you liked after everything went crazy. And before I even end this video, because that is the last part of this video, I forgot to mention William Birkin in characters. William Birkin is also another really good character, and it's a shame that he doesn't really have much screen time, because I feel like this rendition of Birkin was really good. Like, it's pretty much the game version of it's pretty much the same character. He's pretty much the exact same. Only difference is that he's not doing his research with Annette at his side, and he's taking advantage of the orphanage versus the games where he was using prisoners and stuff for his research. So I think him using the orphanage is way more creepy and fucked up and more interesting versus what he was actually doing in the actual games. So this Birkin, sad that he didn't get much screen time, because he was awesome. Now, if I had to rate this movie, personally, I enjoyed the movie. At least the first 30 minutes, and I did enjoy some stuff after that 30-minute mark. But I would personally rate this movie a 6 out of 10. Just me personally. And I would watch it again because I did like it to an extent. Like, it was entertaining. And because I know so much about the games, like, it's easy for me to fill in those blanks and just make up stuff. So this movie makes a little bit more sense to me. So it's nice to have an actual, like, horror Resident Evil movie, or at least one that tried. So it's not all that bad to me. To me, it's just okay. But let me know what you guys think about this movie in the comments down below, and I'll get with you guys in the comments down below. Peace.